Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Good evening and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Sports. Happy Saturday night to you. Although football season has come to a close, that doesn't mean we stop talking. That doesn't mean we stop rambling. That doesn't mean we stop coming to your beautiful TV screens, cell phones, laptops, tablets, however you consume this beautiful show. We're bringing the thunder, we're bringing the heat. Good to see you. Gators basketball, I don't know if I want to talk about it, to be perfectly honest with you. Probably won't. We got a jam-packed show on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. We're going to talk about some potential movement again on this coach. Not what I was expecting. Contract expired yesterday. We ain't heard a word. But instead, we get something that we weren't even anticipating. We'll talk about that. Then Cody and I dive into this Lagway Manning era in multiple assets, right? On the field and off the field. Then this whole tampering thing, we've been hearing about it. It's growing. More and more reach off season and with each passing week, and I think it's good. It needs to. But Matt Rule puts his foot down, kind of, sort of. We'll get into it. Brent Venables pulls a Billy Napier. And could this be his ride or die season? We'll talk about that as well. And then the art of rivalries, the passion, is it going to go away? We saw a little bit of this possibly go by the wayside with this Michigan-Ohio State game. We're going to talk all about it. 100 strong on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. Good to see you. Again, smash the like button, subscribe. Let's get it rock and rolling. We got a little member here. Yeah, she'll shout out to Quick for Firm Handshake. Member for 13 months. Godly. Let's go. Best time of the week. I love it, boys. Let's get after it. Cody, the professor, is joining us here today, boys and girls. Good to see you, Codes. How you feeling, big guy, after that big W today?
Oh. Whew. Yeah, that was tough. No, feeling good, man. We actually didn't have the kids the entire weekend, so they just all came in. Milo went to bed at 8 o'clock. They went to like jump zone. It's like a
Bounce
trampoline thing.
Yeah. Great time.
Made a free throw. Got 2 assists, 4 rebounds, and 4 points. So,
your kiddies are all at the point
not
where
bad on the.
Yeah. Your kids are all at the point where they want to entertain themselves. You're kind of in that then moving on stage. I was at a 2-year-old party today. We did a little Home Depot. I mean, I'm hands on. You know, I'm in it. I'm in it to win it right now. So he does not want everything to do with that. So let's talk about it though. Let's dive right into it. Let's get into all the juice. Yeah.
For sure. Let's get it.
What were we gonna say?
I'm just the ATM. That's all I am now.
Yeah, that's true. Well, look, me too. BB, good to see you. Brady Productions, good to see you. Carlos Webb, Yale Beast, what's good? Muddy, what's good? John Wilcox, Riley, Mizell, and Scott 020. Warner's point of view. Yeah. So, what coach is on being poached, you ask? It's Chatman. Can the Gators hang on? The Bears come a calling. My golly, man, the Bears, they are cooking. And you, as a Vikings fan, buddy, should be in shambles right now because the Bears are out there working. Ben Johnson has come in, hit the ground running. He is taken from every which candy jar he wants to, it seems like, at this point. And Chatman just is, it was fun watching. Wife's a Bears fan, uncle's a Bears fan. Becca has a little bit of Bear in him. So I'm excited seeing this all happen, all this shakedown. And they go, whoa. Easy. Friendly fire. Back off here. So Chatman gets hit with an interview for the Chicago Bears to be their defensive line coach. Now, this is going to start a whole conversation. We're going to dive into that here just for a little bit today about why, right? Because this isn't, from our understanding, a promotion unless there is a more to the title that we're not getting, right? But he has coached in the NFL. He coached Dunlap with the Bengals, I believe, at one point. Got a lot of praise from him. Don't forget about this. He also was the DC at Colorado. Obviously, Twitter had their fun with this. They're speaking to the fact that, Billy goes and brings in Vinny, one of his boys, gives him that co-DC title, and coaches are upset. You're bringing in this young cat who hasn't even proven anything with this co-defensive. I don't think that's the case. I think the fans like to ride with that kind of thing. So then the big question comes like, well, then why leave? Why go to Chicago? Financially, I don't think it's going to be much greater. I mean, I think he's one of the higher paid assistants on the team outside of like the Rob Sales and whatnot, but he's leading the way from the secondary assistant coaches making $600,000 going into this year. Can the Bears keep up with that? And again, the Bears, like I just said, they are cooking right now. They are at a win now attitude, as they should be. I think a pretty good, solid team. Not sold on Caleb, but around everything around that is very good. So this one hurts, man. In my opinion, Florida cannot afford to lose this man right here. And Gerald Chatman was a massive impact on the team last year. We saw the trench work that he was able to do, and would be a massive blow, especially at this time. I mean, I feel like, and I've said this before, since Billy has been here, he's always been trying to navigate some kind of coaching changes, especially on the defensive side, since he's got here. Chatman Harris just got here last year. Now we're losing this guy. Thoughts?
Yeah, maybe losing. Listen, I think the Chicago Bears are maybe one of the most dysfunctional, disorganized franchises in the NFL, not named Vegas, I guess.
The Browns, the Jags,
The Browns, the Jags,
the Giants.
Listen, I just don't know if he takes the job. You have to do the interview because you're not going to tell him no, then you're going to get blacklisted, right? So you have to do the interview. I don't feel like Coach Chatman is that type that's afraid or scared of recruiting, doesn't like to recruit.
Sure.
So I don't think that's it. He seems like a guy that wants to mend and melt the minds of young men and turn them in to great men. And I feel like he's a great college coach. And you take the interview. I don't think they get him though, personally. I think Gerald Chatman is fine where he's at, and he's happy, and minus a substantial pay raise, which, Chicago can do whatever they want. They can pay whoever they want, whatever they want, coaches wise. I just don't see it happening.
A lot of people, what they don't look at, and I talked to Stephen Harris about this earlier today, because he loves Coach Chatman. And just like we saw what Coach Prime did this offseason, had conversations with the Raiders, had conversations with the Cowboys, right? Then there was some conversations that he went back and spoke to, his front office. Probably use it as a leverage piece, because the things that he did make some splashes, turned some eyeballs. This is a leverage piece to him. This is a business move, right? Because when Steve and I were like talking about a big picture, it's like, okay, unless he's going to get a title change going to the Bears, it doesn't make sense. Okay, because like you said, I agree with you. I don't think he likes recruiting. Now, if you don't like recruiting and you don't like that part of it, okay, I get it. Maybe you take a little less because of the stress. That's fine. That doesn't seem to be his MO. I think he likes this. Even Harris is like, look, I've talked to this young man, talked to this guy before. I have conversations on a daily basis. They're in chats together. Met him at the barbecue. Loves that kind of bringing that together and bringing back and like you said, mending and molding these young men. By moving to the Bears, just to go to be the defensive line coach on a contract year for Florida, going to a team like the Bears that is in full rebuild or full recycle, however you want to look at that, where Ben Johnson's the guy, you're gonna get washed. You're gonna get lost in all that sauce. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can, if your goal is to move up and continue to grow, to be maybe the DC and get back at that opportunity because he was DC at Colorado, my opinion, your best chances is to kick ass and take names again one more year at Florida with a D line that has a lot of great upside left, and then strike with the irons hot if that is something that has your eye, or double down and take a bigger check, kind of like what Jaluk did. If you're because not everybody wants to move up. Everybody thinks that everybody wants to climb up. Billy Gonzalez has been a wide receiver coach since 1945. He ain't going nowhere. You know what I mean? Some guys, Jaluk, still, I mean, he could have, I imagine, could probably have made some jumps or leaps elsewhere, is comfortable with what he's doing.
Yeah, and here's another thing to think. It's not like he's going to a possibly Super Bowl contending team. He's not going to the Buffalo. He's not going to the Ravens. He's not going to Kansas City. He's not going to Philly. You're kind of going to the bottom barrel of the NFC North in a tough division.
Very tough.
That's only
division.
Getting tougher.
I mean, look, I think that team has a lot of potential. Watched a lot of them last year. Like I just said, wife's a big Bears fan. I think Caleb Williams is a huge asset in the wrong way. he's a liability, not an asset, I guess you could say.
Wasn't my number one quarterback. My number one quarterback's balling out. All right,
almost played for a Super Bowl. Absolutely. And look, I think the Lions, they got absolutely pillaged. They'll probably take a step back. The Vikings, I think they'll take a step forward. They hadn't really lose too much, and you got, quarterback situation's still a little unknown, but that team always keeps its wits amongst itself. And the Packers, they're always there. So like you said, that division is very, very tough. So again, you're going up there to kind of just get lost in the sauce. And so unless you just hate where you're at, or again, there's what people are trying to point to, which I don't feel that way at all. I don't think that it's like, oh, you want to name your buddy a DC? I'm out. Like, no. Um, I think it's a leverage move. I think you're right. I think if someone comes a knocking like the Bears, you've got to listen. And also too, I think you got to give credit when credit is due. I think that speaks, volumes, because again, when Napier brought him in alongside Harris, there wasn't much excitement there, not much sexiness, and here we are 365 days later, and here he is. He's one of the hottest, a hot commodity in college football. So kudos to everyone around. Kudos to Chatman. Kudos to the team to buying in, and of course Napier kind of seeing that, I guess, and poaching it. And hopefully we can have that same success with Coach Vinny coming in as well. Yeah, coach is a yeah. Yeah, Muddy, I agree. Chicago does have a great D line. I do agree on. I think that, like I said, I think the Bears have a really good defense. And yes, and you can go and capitalize. I just believe that Ben Johnson kind of coming in, that's where all the excitement's going to be. And there's so many new hires, there's so many additions that he's bringing in. It's hard to know what worked. It's hard to point.
Yeah.
If it's successful, it's all going to fall on Ben Johnson, right? Now, you could say that's a dumb comment because everyone's going to be able to see where things do well. But I think what Chatman was able to do with Cam Jackson and with Banks and with these guys coming in, I think he can make even a bigger statement. I believe if his ultimate goal is to take that next step, I mean, look, I'm being selfish, right? Also, too, there's obviously some bias there. I just think that you could have more. But again, that Bears defense showed a lot of promise. I think that Bears defense is the only reason why they were in the conversations for any of their football games. No joke, they probably should have been a playoff team if they could have just not. They had the blunder against Washington where the guys dancing on the sideline. There's a W. They had piss poor management, clock management. I would say 3 games at the last few moments where just like nobody knew what was going on. So they weren't far off, I would say, from being there. And that's where I think this excitement that Ben Johnson brings in, kind of getting a little tailed off of the NFL. But we'll see. We'll see.
I would definitely be more concerned if he went to the Bills and held Patrick Mahomes and the game, in the game to 7 points, and then had a bunch of sacks. It's like, yeah, Gerald Chapman was the reason why the Bills made it to the Super Bowl or won the Super Bowl.
A piece that's already put together, and it's like, okay, hey, we added a missing link that just elevated us. Again, that Bears D line was already solid. You know what I mean? Like, can you really? I mean, sure, he can't amplify, but enough to where it makes an impact. I agree. I completely agree on that. Thanksgiving Detroit disaster. Yeah, they blew that game as well too. I mean, there were so many games they just blew and should have been in it. And I don't know if it was because of Caleb Williams or coaching. Obviously, the coach is gone, so we'll see. Yeah, Bears had 6 1-possession last-minute losses. My point exactly. So that team was literally like this close to getting it done. And they're right now, I believe, their mock draft to get Ashton Genty. They brought in Eric Bieniemy, who you love. We've talked about him before on the show about a couple years ago. I mean, he's kind of taken some steps back. Was the DC, right? Or the OC at Kansas City.
OC.
Goes to Washington, I believe, to be the head coach or the OC? The OC.
OC. He'll never be a head coach. He has some domestic battery issues in his past, and I think a couple DUIs. So,
and it looks like he was being covered by the Andy Reid and Patty Mahomes because he's down to a running back coach for the Bears. But all in all, you've got just a plethora of big name coaches at the Bears. I'm excited to see what they're going to do. Yeah, possibly 9 draft picks. It also depends on them trading down. I'm telling you, they're in a really good spot to do some great things. Again, all of these things is why I think, like you just said, Chatman kind of gets lost in the sauce. Again, we don't know his thoughts or what he's trying to do. I'm trying to look at it from my perspective, what my goal is, but I don't know what he wants. Right? Maybe he wants to get out of recruiting.
And then you got to scramble because 2026 classes, I mean, there's teams with 10, 12, 13 commits already. You gotta really, especially at the defensive line where the trenches are so big in the SEC, you gotta scramble and find somebody. If I'm Napier, I'm not picking up the phone tomorrow and just probing to see who's possibly interested to backfill that if he decides to go.
You got to move quick. Couldn't agree more. Let's move on to the next little bit here, boys and girls. So, unpack this thing from a whole. So I was talking to Cody because been seeing some NIL deals from both of these young men, Lagway and Manning. I saw the Red Bull, which I want to go on a little bit of a Red Bull tangent here in just a minute, but saw 2 NIL deals from Lagway And I was like, man, it's just cool. Let's talk about the NIL. But I was like, man, it's all honestly kind of just that first taste of this Lagway Manning era. So I want to get into it. But I do want to talk about the Red Bull thing for just a moment because as we were preparing for the show, I was like, man, Red Bull, if you remember Red Bull, people my age, Red Bull kind of set the tone for energy drinks. I would say for advertising in general, and just that fun, sexy, fast, athletic mindset. Like that's what Red Bull was to me. Like Red Bull was a lifestyle, was a mindset. It wasn't just an energy drink. Now, as we've grown over the last couple of years, and Monster and all these other energy drinks have flourished, Red Bull's always remained the base and hasn't really had to advertise. I feel like what they advertise for now is like more of like your Formula One guys, soccer,
Yeah.
like the crazy airplanes. Like you don't see Red Bull like you did back in the day. Like I don't see it at all. I mean, you see like little short little truck with the Red Bull in the back. Like I just don't feel like I see. What we see now is Monster, so UFC, and Celsius is the monster right now. They are just taking a book out of the page out of the Red Bull's book. So for them to go after somebody like an Arch Manning, they're swinging out the big guns again. They're coming back full circle, I believe, to go after a young athlete like Arch. This is their attempt to get back into this next generation. Because again, Celsius has dominated this generation, right? This group of kids, of young kids of energy drinks, and for them to go after Arch, Red Bull and football just have never clicked with me, right? It's never been syndicated in the same asset. Go ahead.
Well, our generation, they were a big proponent of the X Games, which was, motocross and stuff like that. They were kind of that like alternative rock kind of page, right? So that's Red Bull. Monster was kind of your they did do a little bit in motocross, but it was more of the UFC and stuff like that. And then Celsius came.
Celsius is kind of the sexier, prettier, more light and more inviting. That's how they've advertised themselves. So for Red Bull to go after Arch is huge. But to see, again, this is what NIL was intended for, right? So to see Arch get a big deal like this was huge. And then Lagway had two big posts this past week as well. One with a furniture company, him sitting in his section on his nice apartment. And then the second being with a hashtag Nintendo partner, and then Fortnite, I believe, as well, too. Two massive NIL deals on top of what we already know is Gatorade one. That one, as big as that is, that seemed honestly more likely to happen in a weird way. And that was like a big brand commercial. I'm not trying to downplay it, but these are getting these more personal one-on-one NIL deals. Not your kind of one-off weird ones. Like these feel like they have some stability to it. And again, it's kind of that kickoff to this Lag versus Manning era, which is going to be special. It's going to be short-lived because Arch could be one and done. And I don't think Lag will be one and done, but Arch 100% could be one and done. Ideally, we get them both for 2 years. In a magnificent world, we get them for... Well, I don't think Arch has 3 more. Lagway does. But I don't believe Arch... Did Arch redshirt his first year? I can't remember.
I think so. I think he redshirted.
So technically, I think both of them still have 3 more years left, which would be... Look, we're not going to get it, but a boy can dream, okay? A boy can dream. So...
Can we see a DJ Lagway Fortnite skin?
I mean, look, Fortnite, I think they're trying to get back into the mix of things. That's definitely a thought process.
That's a big money. That's those V-Bucks, man. That's a big money deal. I mean, Fortnite's making crazy money.
Yeah. Okay. He did redshirt. Thanks, Stevie G. And look, Fortnite and Nintendo, these are massive, massive deals. I mean, this Red Bull one, I don't think we can comprehend. Like I just kind of alluded to, we haven't seen a deal like this from Red Bull. And so Red Bull is not afraid to spend money on marketing. We know that, right? And so that's just crazy to me. Again, we know that he's getting big time money. It's going to be huge for Texas as well because they'll be able to point to that and to their agents. That's always going to be a big thing. I mean, shout out to Lagway's agent. Obviously, we've had them on. They do great work landing these deals. They also represent Julian Lewis, who's quarterback of Colorado. I don't know if everybody knows that. They represent, I think, Tank Hawkins for us as well. Shamar James, a few others. I'm just the ones that I know of. That's who the same, all under the same agency. So look, I think this is that first little taste of this era, and I'm excited to see these two battle on the field. But right now we're seeing it's not a battle, right? But just who's going to have more. It's kind of like like the chicken noodles Campbell stuff with like the Vicks and the Donovan McNabb. You know what I mean? Like who's got the best commercial
Yeah.
swagger and the Kelsey brothers. Like it's whoever is the hottest topic. That's you see them everywhere, right? On and off the field. And then it kind of helps the build up because you just see so much of them.
It you know, is it's almost nice to see NIL actually to be this, right? This is what it was made to be, name, image, and likeness. For everything that it has turned into that's not, uh, this is what it was supposed to be, and this is super cool for these young men to be linked up with some of these partnerships that these sponsorships are tough, right? And they have obligations. It's a job. We know with BetUS, it's a job to keep these obligations in, but it's fun for them to actually uh you know get real NIL deals. I think there's a lot of fake NIL deals out here with just some fugazi happening on, but these are actually real NIL deals, and it's super cool that a Florida Star quarterback and DJ Lagway, and then obviously Arch Manning having the last name. It's cool that they received those.
The question is going to be who facilitated this deal. Was it the NIL from Florida? Was it their agent? If I had to guess, it was probably more so on the agent side of things. But this is
Yeah.
where Florida, I think, needs to flex their logo, flex the weight, because big brands like Nintendo and Red Bull know, yes, these kids carry their own brand. They carry their own weight anyways. Arch, anywhere that guy would have went, and probably for DJ too. But it doesn't hurt. They're at two massive logos, massive brands like Texas and Florida. We're just consuming everything. And so that has to be where Florida's got to emphasize on that. And I hope they can utilize this. And again, they got to get more guys in this same capacity like Lagway. Utilize, again, the fact that there's so many eyeballs. There's a reason why On3 puts so much money into the Florida staffing, because there's eyeballs, right? There's the amount of support is unreal. Yeah. Texas, same boat. And that's where Florida can capitalize on a bigger scale from the NIL if they, in a sense, don't want to compete from spending like we've heard. But look, just to start off something extremely special with these two. Let's read a couple super chats here before we roll on to the next thing. You have anything else before we move on to the next topic?
No.
Got a couple of super chats. Why can't I see? What's going on here, boys?
I saw one from Dominic.
Yeah, I wanted to read it out loud because it was so good. Boys and girls, smash the like button, subscribe. Yeah, I just got to scroll to so I can pull it onto the screen. Here we go. Dominic Pizzanelli. Because Dom from Jersey. Let's go, Gators. Dom. How we doing? I love it. I love it. Firm handshake. Keeping an eye on Ben Hanks. He got his 5th star. Yeah, we talked about that on Wednesday. Shout out to Ben Hanks for getting it done, kid. Kid's good, man. That's secondary, man. It's got a lot of talent. Should have gave Chatman a pay raise to keep him. And look, I mean, that's something that, could be maybe up for conversation and where he could utilize his interview for leverage. We were kind of talking about that for sure. Now who are you going to hire? Yeah. Well, he's not gone yet, guys. Yeah. Easy. He gone.
Yeah. He out of here.
No, I'm just kidding. We honestly don't know. All right, let's talk about this, man. The tampering thing has been obviously hot on everybody's plate. We got Ryan Day talking about it. We talked about that. Lane's always talking about it meanwhile he's in the middle of tampering. But look, I've said this, for tampering to get fixed, you've got to have the powers that be, the coaches, in my opinion, kind of come together and put their foot down. In the NFL, if somebody tries to take a stand or do something, there's only 32 of them. They all get together and like, hey, we're not gonna, no, we're just gonna blackball that and move on. Belichick got blackballed. I fully believe that. It's like, you can't hire this guy. No, like if not, we're gonna start breaking rules. Like it's just like the good old boy club. There's too many variables in college football, I think. So it's hard for that kind of kumbaya, because it's like 5 agree and then 2 guys are like, I'm not agreeing to that. Like there's no good blood. There's just it's not the same.
Yeah.
And it's because I think you have the owners in the NFL that kind of keep it a little cordial. There isn't much exchange happening between there. I think the athletic directors it's not the same. So the head coaches kind of pitchfork this, and obviously you know how it is with college football. The carousel is never ending of coaches, and so you can't really keep a nice common ground because a new guy comes in and he wants to make a splash and he don't care about the rule. I'm all guessing here. But here's what he had to say, and then we're going to talk about it. He's basically talking about possibly canceling the spring game. Matt Rule says, I don't know that yet, but I'll be honest with you. I highly doubt it. Fundamentally, I hate to say it like this. It's really because last year we were one of the more televised spring games. I don't recall that. There's no shot in hell I was tuning in.
No.
Maybe because of Raiola.
I wasn't watching.
I know. What? Maybe because of Raiola. I think he's reaching here, but I let him have it. Televised spring games, and I dealt with a lot of people offering our players a lot of opportunities after that to go out and bring a bunch of players and then showcase them for all the other schools to watch. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The word tampering doesn't exist anymore. Just absolute free, open, common market. I don't necessarily want to open up the outside world. Don't want these guys all able to watch our guys and say, wow, he looks like a pretty good player. Let's go get him. Now, two things. Obviously, because there's that transfer portal that opens up after the spring game, which is, there's good and bad to that because you're going to find out pretty quickly during that spring game if you're going to be the guy, so you have an opportunity to escape. However, there was a proposal to change the spring or the portal window to just one cycle for 10 days in December. So him kind of throwing this fit is kind of short-lived because next year I believe it's going to be gone anyways. So it could just be a one-year cancel anyhow. What I do like about it is it's instead of just complaining about it and saying there's tampering going on, this is a move and a step in the right direction because other coaches can kind of follow along and say, yeah, I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened across the board, right? They saw this kid and it's like, okay, like, we were kind of hesitant at first or we didn't put the foot down, but seeing him catch that ball from Dylan Raiola or, hey, this guy block or, hey, this guy come off the edge. And don't forget, Nebraska kind of got picked apart this offseason, losing some coaches and players to FSU. They lost their defensive coordinator, I believe, to FSU, alongside some of their top talent outside of Dylan Raiola. But there was obviously those reports coming out that he was being offered $3 to $4 million. So Nebraska's hanging on by a thread here to try to keep up. But I like that he said it. I like that he said it because hopefully it can maybe create some turnover or create maybe a little bit of a balance because it is wide open. But with the whole agency thing, I don't think it'll ever get cleaned up. What needs to happen is the rules need to be established from within. So no matter what happens outside, if you create a 2-year contract, then the conversations that happen outside of that don't matter. There needs to be a cutoff. You need to be able to have a time off. Like once I recruit you and sign you, I shouldn't have to do this for the next 6 months, or honestly while you're here. Like you should be contract obligated to play. If not, you're paying back these fines or what have you. Like just like the NFL is, like there should be some consequences for you not following through.
Yeah,
that eliminates all of this.
Yeah, I can't agree with this. The spring game is for the fans. It's for young kids to go out and meet their favorite players and get autographs. It's for good practicing to know what you got and what you don't have. It's much more than just a scrimmage. It means much more. It's our first taste of what the team could be like. To cancel the Nebraska spring game would be an absolute tragedy. They pack that place every single game. And guys, they haven't been good since, I don't know, before I was walking. So I'd hush it up, Matt Rule. It's not like you turn that place into a power program. You're not that great. Okay. And nobody was really watching the spring game. Yeah, probably all the people in Nebraska that it was too cold to go out there and watch and sit in there in the frozen Nebraska wind. I have to disagree, man. It will be a travesty. It's for the kids. It's free. It's for families that can't afford to even go to a game anymore because they've gotten so outrageous and pricing. It's the first tailgate of the year. It's to make, players that aren't going to get to play a whole lot. They get to play in the spring game that their families have put the effort in and help them get along. There's a lot more to the spring game than, I don't want my roster picked apart.
Yeah, so I agree and disagree. I think, like from your emotional standpoint, you're right. The school, they don't care. And if you think that by them canceling that is going to affect anybody, it's not. I agree with you. It's a big blow because, like you just said, for the kids and what it means, it's time to come together. QID kind of nails it on the head. Just don't televise it. But look, I think it's going to go a step further because of how much access we have now to practices and those clips that we're getting. I guarantee you all that kind of just slowly starts going away, which that will make us more upset. That'll make us even angrier, right? We want to be involved. We want
Yeah.
more of it. I think the bigger fact, again, the reason I like it is because it's an action to fixing the problem versus just throwing your hands up and yelling into a microphone like these coaches have been
Well,
doing.
I mean, retain your players. I'm sorry. Retain your players. Florida does it. Everybody else does it. Matt Rule, you need to retain your players.
I don't think. I
don't feel bad for you. He's cried the entire time he's been there. I mean,
I
he
think
just.
So you're just mad at Matt. All right. Everybody has complained, even the ones that are Ohio State has retained them, and they're still complaining about it. Florida struggled with it. The reason we lost Jack Pyburn and TJ Searcy was because of tampering. So we're not retaining guys. So I disagree with that. Everybody's getting, wreckage through. So it's a problem that needs to be fixed. I think, again, the reason why everyone has complained as far as I'm concerned, and has whined about it, and I've criticized them for bitching about it because then they just turn around and go do it. But he's at least taken an action item in my eyes to maybe kind of turn some heads of like, is he really going to cancel it? Like this kind of makes people kind of look for me and go, wait a minute, you're actually canceling? Like, is it that, like, hopefully it could start a conversation in the right direction. That's my only thought process. You still disagree.
Yeah, I think it's value. You need to practice. I think it's good for the fan base. It's good for the kids.
I think we're on two different tones here. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, it's dumb. He's just again, Matt Rule trying to stay in the headlines because Nebraska isn't. I don't ever see Nebraska football anything come up on my feed. So they're just they're an unprominent program.
John Wilcox brings up a good point. It's kind of naive to think that scouts for other teams need your spring game to know who's good and worth poaching from it.
Yeah.
Look, the idea of it is dumb, but what I do like is the fact that he's attempting or flexing a possible action item to prevent, which is it actually making a difference? Like you guys just alluded to, probably not. But at least he's making somewhat of a stand, which you can agree is a problem. Right? I mean, it's exhausting. Like the fact that we have to be in a constant, like I got bubble guts worried about whether or not DJ Lagway is going to get poached every 5 minutes. Like I can't even put my head to sleep at night. I have to wake up every single morning and call DJ. Hey, we're still good, right? Like we're cool. Like you didn't like forget about me.
No, I understand that they need to fix it, but taking it out on the fans that financially support the team now in NIL is not the way. I guarantee you this: Ohio State ain't canceling their spring game. They would burn Ryan Day's house down.
I mean, no, they're doing just fine. All right, boys and girls, be sure to smash the like button. 226 strong here on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. Good to see you. Show some love. Let's get the likes up to 100 likes, maybe possibly. Yeah, maybe get there. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about this. We should have got a quote from our boy Jason on this because this one's good. Brent Venables decides that he's going to call plays next year, taking matters into his own hands, as he says. I've reflected on all facets of our program over the past several weeks. Since I was hired as head coach, we carefully assembled the defense personnel. Hold on, let me see. Personnel and scheme that is suited to compete at the highest level. We built a deep and talented roster ready for the moment. I have high expectations for our program and will do everything in my power to achieve our goals for our players. To that end, I will take over defensive play calling responsibilities for the 2025 season. This is wild. Because this is, like a heroic moment that he's positioning this as. If Billy came out and said this for Florida, well, he kind of already has. We're still out front with pitchforks. And I would like to see kind of where Oklahoma fans, I'm sure they'll be in the comment sections once this gets posted separately, their thoughts and feelings on this. But we talked earlier this week, a week ago, of coaches on the hot seat. Brent was not on there, on kind of like a just a generic list. I argued that he should have been on there. I think they've not done what I think he was anticipated to do. They've recruited well over the last couple of years. Jackson Arnold, I thought he was going to come in and be the guy. He is now gone. they have kind of just floundered around. First year in the SEC did not look good. Had some okay wins and had some embarrassing losses. This move, you kind of, if you bring in a DC, you kind of can point the finger a little bit, maybe which way somehow. Look, and I say this for Billy. I respect it. If you feel like I have to make a change here and I've done this, this, and that, and it's not working, and what my specialty is defensive coordinator, and that's where we've struggled at, I got to take it over, then so be it. I don't hate it. Your back's against the wall. But this, in my opinion, puts him probably hotter on the seat than may have people thought at the first place. How do you like the move? Do you feel this is the right move, or did it didn't really matter? Brent was skid on the way out anyways.
You know, I think it's the right move. Brent Venables has coached in like 8 or 10 national championships games and won 3 of them. You know, in a coaching facet, you know, calling plays and stuff like that. I like the move. He's to the point where I think, you know, he feels like, hey, if it's not gonna get done right, you got to do it yourself. And so I really like the move. I think that it's gonna help them. I don't think it's as strenuous as offensive play calling. We've seen plenty of defensive coaches go out there and call plays and be fine. It's kind of the offensive side of the ball. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just because the offensive side of the ball is just so much vastly different. You're only going to run so many defenses. A lot of teams, even like him, they run some exotic stuff, but you know, it's one of those things where it seems to work out for defensive coaches calling their own plays. I'm okay with it. Head coaches, that is. I'm all right with it. I think it's fine. I think that he was tired of the noise of not getting these OCs and DCs right, because Oklahoma's kicked down the door of every OC and DC since he's been there. It's never been good enough for them, it feels like. So I feel like he's one bad OC hire away from being fired. If Arbuckle does not turn that offense around, it's not going to matter what they do on defense, because they couldn't score last year. That's just it.
I was about to say, I was like, defensively, I mean, sure, it was ugly at times, but I don't feel like that was their problem. I felt like it was just offensively they couldn't do anything. Because even Jason will be fired up because he's like, just we're the best defense in the country. And they've recruited very well in defense. You're very familiar with that defensive line, actually, obviously covering them on the recruiting channel. Stevie G says, Sooner fans here. He says, let's go. He's fired up. He says, look, it's do or die for him this season. He says, this is the right move. And he's one good season. And his one good season, 10-3, he was the play caller. So kind of going back to his roots. And look, I know a lot of people kind of criticize Billy, and we've talked about it plenty of times. We're not going to get too far into that. But when you're in this kind of position, I kind of condone it, and I can see it because, again, your back's against the wall. You've tried. Now, Billy has not tried it, but Brent obviously has, and it hasn't worked out. So you don't want too many variables going on in a season that's a do or die for you. And I respect this move. I think Oklahoma fans like Brent. I think they like the energy that he brings. I'm sure they're frustrated with how things have gone. And this is him, I believe, trying to really turn this thing around. And so I would respect it as OU. And live or die by the 3, Brent. Live or die by the 3. Well, that's cover 3, zone 3. Live or die by it, because you're going to be calling a big guy going into next year. So we'll see. It should be fun.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm excited to see, too. Again, we should have got Jason to get his thoughts and opinions on this. Because Oklahoma, I know he had high expectations going into the last year. I didn't. I thought they would kind of get punched in the mouth. They got punched in the mouth worse than I thought they would. And look, I don't have high expectations going in for next year, unfortunately. But I've been wrong before. And I know a lot of people very high on John Mateer, their quarterback that they brought in. So I think that's a big move. That's a big move for them. I think that was a huge component that they needed. And so I know I forgot to do it, but Jason did like a little voting of top quarterbacks from the SEC, I believe, or just in general. And I'm sure he's hoping for John to get a lot of votes. I'm sure he's, as any fan would be, of their quarterback, obviously stealing him away from Miami. And even when we did our power rankings from our Pigskin 5000, Oklahoma was in that top 10 for power rankings. And people were like, why is Oklahoma so high? Again, that particular ranking, our Pigskin ranking, values quarterbacks at a very high level. And it's very high on John Mateer. I probably butchering his last name as I usually do, but very high on him and what he's going to be able to do. Go ahead.
Yeah, and what he brings is he knows the system. The the OC that they hired, that was his coach. So he knows the system. He's going to be able to get those wide receivers and offensive line and running backs on the same page of, hey, this is how we're going to do it. This is what we got to do. And if there's any position that they really need to shore up, it was that quarterback position. Hawkins was young. Arnold was historically bad. They didn't have a true quarterback coach. The OC was not good at all. It was just one of those things where it was just like a train wreck you had to watch, right? It just didn't go good on the offensive side of the ball. And people say, well, some of those games they got the brakes beat off of them, but guys, they weren't even marching it down the field. It was, it was 3 downs and punt. Their defense was playing like, 35, 40 minutes of the game.
I mean, going back to Florida, it was kind of like those Muschamp teams. But the defense, look, at times it looked a little vulnerable, but all in all, if they had an offense that could provide some love, who knows what that team could have done. I think they could have probably won three more games, to be honest with you. Last little topic here before we move on, before we close it out. Hey, good to see you guys. It's a great show so far. Brian Fisher, $2. Arch versus Lag in the Swamp, Musty TV. Couldn't agree more, man. I think the build up for that game is going to be nuts. Game day? College game day, that game?
Oh, it has to be.
It's got to be, right? Can we pull the schedule? Let's pull up the schedule for that week. Let's see what's up for grabs. I think this is a good little.
What week is that?
You're asking too much, big guy. Oh, I don't. My phone's not going to give me that. I think it's week 4.
I'm looking it up now.
Oh man.
Let's see. 2025.
October 4th. That's 1, 2, 3, 5. Week 5.
Let's see.
Or no, it's week 6. I guess there's a bye.
Week 6. I got it. I'm just kind of perusing through here. That's the best game.
How do you see it already?
We got like Virginia at because I'm the professor. Got like Virginia at Louisville. That's not it. Duke, California. That's not it. Boston College, Pitt. Nope. Syracuse at SMU. No. Ooh, Miami, Florida. Miami, Florida State. Kind of circle that one.
No.
Kentucky at Georgia.
DJ.
Yeah, it's not over that.
Nope. Not
Mississippi
Kentucky,
State,
Georgia.
Texas A&M, Wisconsin at Michigan.
Nope.
Illinois, Purdue. That's not it. That's
Who's
it.
Oregon playing?
That's the big games. Looks like they have a bye that week.
Okay. Bama won't be playing Auburn. Auburn, LSU. That's later on in the season, right? Who's LSU and Auburn play?
Yeah. I don't
Not
see
Georgia,
them either.
Tennessee.
I think that's a big bye week. Week 6. There's not a whole bunch of teams.
Yeah, it's right in the middle of the buys. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
it. That's the game.
That's got to be it.
Texas, Florida. They have it ranked number 2 versus number 18 in the power rankings than theirs.
You're welcome. We just did their job for them. All right, let's talk about this last little bit here. I saw an article about this, and I thought it was interesting. And again, it's going to be a conversation, but I kind of came full circle. I think it's going to actually put more emphasis on the rivalry. So obviously with Michigan and Ohio State, and Michigan hanging their hats on this season by beating Ohio State that last game of the year in the regular season, and then Ohio State goes on and wins the championship. I mean, it's very easy to look past losing that. Now, you ask Michigan fans and those guys, that losing that game still, was still a big thing for Michigan. And obviously for some of those seniors to not beat Ohio or to beat Michigan at all. But this game, I believe, was probably out of the rivalry weekend the biggest one, because it determined who was going to play in it was your Big Ten championship before the Big Ten championship. And so now with how, with the Big Ten expanding, getting a little more competitive, no more sides to this thing, right? That changes it up a little bit. That's number one. So you don't have this like win and get in kind of mindset. because that's usually they're fighting for that one spot. Right now, it's just a free for all on there, so that gets rid of that. And of course, now given you don't even have to play in your Big Ten championship, and you still have an opportunity to go win it all. It sucks the air out of this rivalry a little bit. I think what it does though is it amplifies everybody else's. Now, rivalries are always fun. They're always good games, right? They're kind of right at the end there. You can ruin somebody's season. And again, I think that amplifies it for everybody else. For example, Florida State, when you've got these two teams where, look, even let's say Florida's not in the SEC championship. They can't afford, and they're on the brink of getting into the playoffs. They can't afford to lose that game. Or let's say they are going to the SEC championship. What if they lose that plus that, right? It adds up a little bit more for them, I believe, for non-conference rivalries, because of how it impacts. I mean, look, it still has an impact for Michigan as well, too. I think what it does is just it brings everybody else up and just takes down a notch a little bit this Michigan-Ohio State, where it's still going to be there. But when before, I mean, this thing was like your mecca of rivalry games on that Saturday, that big noon kickoff. I mean, everybody's tuned into that game, and you still will be, just to not to the same extent. But again, I think it amplifies everyone else's just a hair more than what it already was, because now you really can, because so many teams can get in, there's a good chance that you're playing to ruin their season, actually. And that's always been there for a few teams, like Bama, Auburn. Auburn always had a chance to ruin Alabama's.
I think that's the best rivalry out there right now.
A lot of people love that one. I think Michigan, Ohio State's up there. But I think just because with Saban gone, I think it kind of loses it. And he says the Tennessee game's bigger for them. He said that on this past game day because of the whole cigar thing. Saban said
yeah,
it.
I don't care. Go look at recruiting and what Auburn's done to Alabama this year. They've put them in a freaking locker. Alabama can't get a top recruit in their home state right now. It's so bad and pitiful.
Look, here is one thing that I do agree on, right? I think some games will be amplified, but you will diminish some of them, because in the future, you're going to see undefeated teams or one-loss teams locked into playoffs and sit guys out that rivalry game, right? That part you could see happening. So maybe we're across the board right now. All the rivalry games are always exciting, but now you may have 3 that really don't matter, but there's going to be 5 or 6 that are just amplified to the max. Because, like, let's say last year, right? FSU doesn't have a pot to piss in. If Florida wins one more game, if they let's say they win the Tennessee game and they're going into that FSU game, they're 8-4. Their conversation's happening of, are they a playoff bound team? They're in the conversation. Okay, so they need that game more than anything. And now FSU has an opportunity to ruin their season. That game has a little more sexiness to it. You know, the Auburn-Alabama game had some sexiness to it because Auburn was obviously fighting for their life. So it's the Egg Bowl. That's going to be, I mean, a good one, obviously, with Ole Miss where they're at. I think Mississippi State just can't hang on to anybody. But yeah, I think it's the week's going to be, it's still going to be good. I think it's just going to be more focused than what it has been in the past. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's an iconic rivalry. I don't know if it necessarily, necessarily like hurts it at all. It's tough. It's tough when you might play them twice, I guess, right? And we've seen that before with Florida, Georgia, where we, you kind of got to play them twice, and it's hard to beat a team twice. I think that the in-conference rivalries are a little bit better than the non-con. I think they're more impactful when it comes to recruiting, because if you look at Miami, I mean, Miami should have poached every single Florida recruit that we were going after.
Sure.
after the belt to butt that we got, right? And Mario Cristobal fumbled the bag so bad. I mean, we took every Miami player that we wanted. And so they kind of fumbled the bag there. But those inner conference rivalries are definitely a much bigger deal than the non-con, like Florida State and stuff like that you were talking about.
Yeah, because again, you can knock yourself off a slot in the rankings, right? Especially if your conference is down that year and you need to play like the ACC, you need to be in their conference game to have a chance to play in the playoffs. Although if you're in the Big Ten or the SEC, more than likely 3 or 4 teams you're always going to get in just because of the quality. But yeah, look, it definitely is going to lose, its sexiness, and you'll be able to tell pretty quickly. Again, Ohio State going into that game, was obviously a lot of buildup because of how the last 3 years have gone. Ryan Day, somewhat on the hot seat, kind of sort of going into that game. That it had a lot of buildup, but I think pretty quickly they realized, like, once they lost that game, it's like, wait a minute, like nothing changed outside of our egos being punished. Nothing actually changed, and so then you kind of like, okay, like, yeah, it sucks. I'm pissed. Sawyer was pissed. He lost the last 4 guys who just got there. Will Howard, you think he cares about losing? No. You think Quinshon Jenkins cared about losing that game? No. You think Caleb Downs cared about losing? No.
Yeah,
Jeremiah Smith,
it's a little tougher when you don't have 4-year starters anymore
so
as much as what you did because of the transfer portal.
that's my point. So you got the combination of that plus now it didn't change their outcome of their season. It may have. I don't even think it hurt their seeding, to be quite honest with you. I don't think it did a thing to them. It may have dropped it down a little bit, but
I mean, Oregon probably shouldn't have won theirs.
won their what?
Won their conference. It hurt them.
Oh, that's true because actually, no, it did affect a lot because if they won that game, Penn State doesn't go. So, yeah, changes a lot. Changes a lot. It was beneficial for them to honestly to lose the game because they don't have to go play Oregon again, right? And it changed the whole seeding of who had to play who and when. Wow. Yeah. Interesting stuff. I mean, we'll see. I don't think, with the playoffs, I think it's going to change a lot of different things. I would argue the one big thing, again, a lot of people were saying, like, hey, do we really care? The viewership was down for this championship game. Was it, people were saying football fatigue? Too much football?
No.
You don't think so?
You had the inauguration. You had a bunch of stuff that day.
Was it that day?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I
It
think
didn't
a
even
big
feel
part
like
of
it
it,
didn't even feel like a national championship game.
I think the part of it too, man, we got spoiled with good football. And that game just didn't have the sexiness.
Yeah.
Add into it. I think that was a bigger thing. I think we got spoiled all season long. And again, I think we saw a lot of football leading up to that game was a big factor to it. Go ahead.
What do you think the numbers would have been if somehow it was like let's just say somehow it was Michigan Ohio State for the national championship game?
Oh, it would have been huge.
Yeah. So it's just sometimes you roll the dice. Sometimes you get great teams, and sometimes you get. I mean, Notre Dame's a big brand, but not a lot of people really care to watch Notre Dame football.
It's a
Minus
brand
the
in the sense that
Domeheads.
everybody knows it, but not everybody cares about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it was just, and you got so much more football. I don't think they were hurting rating wise. I think they're probably top their ratings. Maybe they're the Catalina wine mixer wasn't as many choppers as they sold as the previous national championship games, but the amount of good football we had that I was certainly glued and watched every single game. I think your viewership was probably up overall.
Sure, because you had more games, right? So
Yeah.
absolutely. Look, I mean, it went further into the NFL playoffs too, so it's just it
was an odd night too, wasn't it?
It was on Monday. It's always on Monday.
Oh yeah, it was inauguration day, I think though.
Yeah,
something like that.
But I think a lot of it too, it just kind of got jam packed. I mean, the semifinals were on Thursday and Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday was NFL playoffs. I mean, you just had just a lot of good football. Kind of got lost. I mean, it wasn't standing out of a product of its own. I mean, it was genuinely competing with the NFL too.
Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah. You were there. Well, boys and girls, great little show here on this beautiful Saturday. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know we did. I had a great time talking all things college football with you. If you liked it yourself, you know what to do. Smash the like button, subscribe, let us know. And Cody, any closing thoughts before we shut her down?
Oh yeah, just dropped a recruiting video on a defensive back, Devin Jackson, 2026 kid. That kid's something special. Go check out High Top Sports Recruiting. He reminds me of a blend of Aaron Gates and Trequaz Bridges. That kid's criminally underranked. He's gonna be a good one.
The old Will Harris special. Dylan All, shout out my man. What's up, man? It says the talent at QB was underwhelming as well. If it was 2 draft prospects going at it, people would have been more intrigued. I agreed. I think that's spot on. Will Howard had no sexies. Riley, it was just, there was really nobody you were excited to watch outside of Jeremiah Smith. Caleb Downs is fun, but I mean, a guy that safety position, there really wasn't, your breakout. I mean, look, I would say the quarterback class in general really kind of fell off. I mean, think about where going into the season, how we rated these guys and who we thought were going to be him. Oh, Bears hired Bill Johnson as defensive line coach. Oh, thank Jesus.
Oh boy.
Oh,
What I tell you? What I tell you?
Let's get confirmation on that. Cody makes the show. Who's the other guy again?
Yeah, Mr. Nobody.
How perfect, how fitting of a name. How fitting of Mr. Nobody. Don't forget, the server that you get to whine and complain on a daily basis, mine. The comments, this is such an egotistical. The comment section you get to come and complain on, mine. That's who.
I just work here. I'm just here so I don't get fired.
Oh, man. You should be thankful I give you a platform, Mr. Nobody. Oh, boy. All right, let me see here. I need to tweet it out if it's true.
That'd be big, huh?
Can you? I'm not seeing it. Where's the Shefty tweet?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see it.
You messing with me? What was the name? Bill Johnson?
Bill Johnson?
Oh, there it is. Oh, wait.
Oh.
That was 2 days ago.
That was 2 days ago. What were they interviewing him for then?
Huh.
Assistant D-line coach? For Chatman, maybe? Well, he ain't gonna take that job.
And he already hired a DC. Huh.
When was this?
2 days ago is when it was reported.
Yeah, and this was 8 hours ago.
Yeah, from Chatman's news.
Huh.
He was hired as an assistant.
Assistant. Oh, I see. Okay, well, Chatman's not off the hook then yet.
As an assistant defensive line coach without a D-line coach?
That's what they're saying. That's what I've read.
That's what Dylan said right there, yeah.
He's 69. Yeah, I would say he's an assistant.
True. You trying to say he's old?
Yeah, he's old.
Oh, boy, oh, boy. Well, boys and girls, great show. Happy to have you here. I think, and again, tomorrow, still sleeping on it. I'm not sure if I'm ready for the Vultures to come out and play. But think about doing a call-in show, get everyone's thoughts and feelings on the movement thus far in the offseason. I think it'll be good to hear from everybody and get yelled at. It's been a while, I'm kind of feeling feisty, ready to get after it. Smash the like button, boys and girls. Subscribe. Let's keep rolling. Although football's over, we can still hang out, chit-chat, stay caught up when we want to. Till then, boys and girls, love you. Till next time, peace and love, baby.